So welcome back, everybody, to this week's episode of Breakthrough, a Dale Carnegie podcast. If you are a student looking to level up your leadership and your personal development, you're in the right place. We're excited to be interviewing every single week student leaders, parents, educators, just people that we've got a lot to learn from. And so I'm Parker. I'm one of our guest hosts here. I'm excited to be in for a few episodes this season. And Faith, who's one of our main full-time hosts, is with me as well. But let me give us a quick intro for our guest. She was born in New York, raised in North Carolina, and is currently a student at Pepperdine University pursuing a degree in business admin. So she's one of our student guests coming in today. She actually completed the Dale Carnegie Gen.Next program in 2021 and won our highest award for achievement. She spends her days in free time working with and advocating for lower income families with housing insecurity by bringing awareness and knowledge to her peers. So Juliette Jeanniton, welcome to the pod. Would love for you to share a little bit more of your story as we're diving in today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. You pretty much said most of it. I'm just a girl from North Carolina. I'm here now at Pepperdine, just, doing my thing. I hope to use my degree kind of just to help people with insecure housing. So that's my main focus now, is kind of using everything that I was taught just to help me along the way. Yeah, but I'm a normal human too. I like books and things like that.
That's awesome, Juliette. We love to see your leadership come out, especially in the way that you were in high school and college, and now going back to your high school days. Take us back there for a second. So you did some leadership roles, especially your junior year. Was that right? And you graduated a whole year early. Tell us more about your high school experience.
I would say my high school experience was probably not the average. As you mentioned, I did graduate early, so that was very interesting, a lot of fun. But yeah, most of my high school experience was kind of taking on different leadership roles throughout. I attended 3 different schools in high school, and I was only in high school for 3 years.
Wow.
But it really taught me that leadership isn't necessarily something like being the president, being the chair, the CEO, it's something as little as, making flyers. Even though I was the president of a few clubs, Girl Up Club, we really focused on just bringing out knowledge to our community. And same with the Mental Health Advocacy Club. I was the vice president of that club. And we really just worked on helping people gain knowledge. And we just saw that there was such a lack of discussion in so many areas. And that's kind of what I focused my leadership, I guess you could say, on, was really helping to show people that there's more than just one facet to any issue. So that was something that
And then
I really enjoyed about doing in high school. I worked, and that was nice.
Awesome. Sorry, it looks like we lost you for a second there, but as you were kind of, especially in that mental health advocacy club, right? I know that you were involved with, a handful of different things, right? You had a lot on your plate. And as you're thinking about that for you, how did you prioritize your mental health as you had so much going on and as you were kind of involved in so many different things?
Honestly, I would say learning to say no was a really big thing for me. I enjoyed so much of high school because I was doing so much, but at some point you have to kind of take a step back and just, for me especially, it was, even though I want to do everything, I can't physically and still get good grades. But I definitely enjoyed it. It was the biggest thing for me is knowing when to say no and doing things that are enjoyable, because otherwise, why are you doing it?
It is so important to enjoy what we do. And I feel like a lot of people forget that sometimes. So that's a great reminder. I also like how you said you don't have to be president or in a high leadership position to show leadership qualities. We all have influence and can make an impact, whether it is just putting up flyers or whether it's being the secretary or taking notes during meetings, whatever it is. Can you speak a little bit more to that and how you saw your peers do that in the non-traditional leadership positions?
Yeah, I have to say that was like one of my favorite things about being president of Girl Up Club was just seeing how many people took leadership in like their own way. There was this, I do not remember her name, but she was amazing. She did, I think it was 50 papers of like drawings and artworks that we hung around the school, and they were beautiful, and they just brought awareness to specifically like women directed violence. And I would have people come up to us and be like, oh, who did that? Who did that? And it was something so small that had such a large impact. So, whatever it is, doing that little bit helped so much to get that message out.
Yeah, and that idea of, especially for our listeners here that are thinking about, how can I be a leader? I don't have a title, right? And really, it isn't just like, leadership is not the title. Leadership is that way that you're interacting with other people. It's the things that you are doing. It's the who you are, right? And in this situation, right, she didn't have a title. She's taking initiative. She's being there for other people and making an impact for other people. And that's so powerful. And I'm curious, as you think about some of those situations, are there any other stories that you have where, you saw someone on your team that's stepping up, that's going above and beyond, that's kind of as a result of you being able to empower them to be able to go out and take something on themselves?
Yeah. Oh, I love this question. Oh my goodness. I feel like I'm just wrapping all my friends here. I don't know. Eloisa Perez, she is a wonderful person. And for most of the last year that I was in high school, it was so obvious her conviction in like helping other people and just doing things that would make an impact. But she didn't enjoy being the person to step out in front of everyone and speak and, go man the crowd or anything. And that's fine. That's not necessarily what is needed all the time. But she came up with this wonderful idea and to decorate an entire teacher's classroom. And she basically started this wonderful campaign that we used the whole year to show just the power of women and the power of community and group. And it was wonderful. And, that one idea was basically the main project we did all year. And yeah, it's just I always say that leadership and like the leadership positions are just titles, they're just words. And she was like that perfect example of, you do not have to hold a title to do something super impactful. Because I still have people tell me how crazy it was to see 200 paper cranes in that man's room.
Tell me about how Eloisa stepped in. So she was about women's leadership, right? And empowering leaders, specifically women. And you and I, being women in leadership, obviously we have a bias towards that. And I love to empower other women. Tell me where your passion for that stemmed from. Was there a specific moment in time, like either before you entered high school or in high school, where you said, hey, I want to be an example for other girls that in my peers, around me in school, or friends, to step into leadership positions as well?
Well, definitely I have to give that one to my parents, actually. Yeah. And my whole family, really. My dad was the only male in his entire family. My mom had all girls. My dad, he only had all girls. And there has always been such a great focus on, no matter what you do, just put your whole self into it. And especially when I was younger, I didn't realize how helpful that would be. And, now that I'm a little bit older and I have a little bit more sense, I definitely see just that it's not necessarily that they taught me, oh, you need to be the first to stand up to say something, the first to do this, or the best at anything, because that was never required of me. And I think that was a big part of shaping me to be that person I am today. But they more taught me the importance of being willing and seeing something that's not necessarily correct and doing something to change it. And so I'm super thankful for them because of that. And I mean, that's why I advocate now. That's why I advocate for women. That's why I advocate for men. That's why I advocate for lower income households. It's all connected to that understanding of that, not everyone is in that same position as you. And I'm really grateful that I learned that when I was younger.
Yes, it seems like your parents really had a big impact on you and who you are today. So that's awesome to hear. And I'm curious to know how you transitioned from high school to college, like where the biggest changes were. How did you get involved in college? Tell us about that transition now.
So, well, I would say it's still happening, if we're being honest. I'm not perfect by any means, but once again, it was just a lot of my parents preparing me. They tell me a lot that I only have to pass by one, which I think is hilarious. They should be the ones telling me to like always be working, always be perfect. But they really have built on my confidence in the sense like my best is good enough. In this whole transition, especially going so far from home, that has been really helpful just to be able to say, it's okay if I need to breathe today, because I'm doing it. I'm awake,
Yes.
And definitely the biggest change I would have to say is the little things. It's California, so it doesn't rain. And I used to swear that I hated the rain in North Carolina, but now I actually think I loved it. Like I was obsessed with rain. And little things like that. Even like having a familiar church to go to, or knowing what aisle to go to if I needed like chocolate bars in the grocery store. But on the other side of that, there's also a lot of great new things that this change has brought me. Like I've met so many wonderful people. I go to Pepperdine, which has a really amazing smaller faculty to student ratio. And I know a lot of my professors like very closely, and that's wonderful. The first day that I got here, my Hume professor, he took a selfie with me and posted it on his Instagram. So it's that happy balance of, just trying my best and letting the change happen and not being too worried about it going well, I guess.
Yeah, well, totally. And even as you're kind of getting acclimated, right? You're talking about all the people that you're meeting and getting connected in that world. What are the biggest ways that you found to be able to meet people and get connected and start to make it feel like home from the community perspective?
Well, if we're being honest, the easiest way here at Pepperdine to meet people is to walk on any staircase. They call Pepperdine Stepperdine because it has a trillion stairs. So I would say probably that's the easiest way, but in a more, I guess, real sense, it's kind of just being yourself. I'm all for just letting things happen how they should. And all the people that I've met that I've started to really bond with, it's happened so organically and just like perfectly. I hate how that sounds, but it sounds so mushy, but it's true. I've met people like Delaney Dickey, my roommate Anna Hune, Alicia, like all these people are just amazing, and they have such bright lights that definitely just letting it happen naturally is the best advice I could give. Also, just be yourself. That's probably the biggest thing that my sisters, especially that are older than me, have taught me, is that you only get one chance to show your true self, because what if you never meet that person again? So definitely that's what I've taken away, and it seems to be working.
I like that piece of advice a lot. Whenever you think about your time in the Generation.Next program, how did that help you with transitioning to college and meeting all these people and getting to use your skills in a natural way, right? Because the program really does just emphasize and bring out who you really are. Tell us a little bit more about that.
I think it is so funny how much I use the Generation.Next tools. It's almost like second nature now, and I think that is so funny. Like it's hilarious. Like I'll be asking someone like where they're from. Do you have sisters or brothers? And I'm like, this is page 12. And it's kind of great. Like I think some people would be like, oh, you learned this at a seminar, so it must be really bad. No, it is so helpful. Like I use it almost every day, if not more often. Like getting to know someone more intimately, remembering people's names. Like I don't think people understand how helpful learning people's names is. That was probably one of the things I use most often, when you just see someone and you say their full name, they're like, you know me? You know me. And we're all scared. It's a new environment. So especially in this change, that's something that I use a whole lot. As well as the stress management section. When I did the program originally, it was not covered as heavily as when I came back as a what's it called? A
Graduate
advisor.
assistant.
A graduate assistant, yes. But when I came back, they talked about it a little bit more. And it really had a lasting impact on me this time. I think just because I was in a place to hear it this time. And I found that like there's little things that I do that I don't need to do. And now that like I think about it, I don't worry so much about the trifles, you know? So what, I didn't make my bed today, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. But yeah, I use it maybe too much. I don't know if I can even say that.
Well, just like your dad said, was it your dad that said your best is good enough?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so just going back to that, I fight that as well. That need to be perfect and go, go, go and do all the time. And so it's great that we can sit back and it's okay to take a breath. You know, it's okay to just do our best and that be good enough. So whenever you think about the ways that the Generation.Next program has impacted your transition to college, obviously we see that it's impacted a lot. What was the breakthrough moment in the program or coming back as a GA that was like the aha moment, that little light bulb moment that went off for you?
Honestly, there was a lot, but I would say my fondest aha moment, if I can put it that way, was the second program that I attended. And it was maybe the second or final day. And I came in and I could say everyone's name, like not just their first name, but their full name.
Yeah.
And I don't know, everyone seemed genuinely happy when they were called by name and asked how they were. And I don't know what it is about it, but it's something so simple that makes such an impact. And I use that now. Anytime I see someone, I'm going to say, how are you? First name, last name, because it makes a difference. So definitely that's the most impactful thing that I've learned. And then, of course, like I mentioned before, those smaller things that really I take with me every day.
Mm, yeah. And as Dale Carnegie says, that a person's name is the sweetest sound, right? In any language, no matter what language, everyone's name always captures something within them. Whenever they hear it, it's very personal. That personal element and touch makes you also stand out to them because it's like, hey, you remembered my name. You see me. I'm not just someone that you met, last week or the week prior. So that is super special. Absolutely. So what would be your biggest piece of advice to students? Let's say a junior or senior in college, right? That's getting ready to maybe pick where they're going to go. It's a scary time in their life. What would you say to them?
Wow, there's so much pressure. I'm just kidding. I would say that I would give this advice pretty much to anyone in this transitional phase, whether it be high school or college, is just let it happen and visualize it happening. If you want to go to your number one school and it's in another country, do it. That was something that was focused on during the program was, saying your goals like they've already happened, as well as, just being okay with things happening, how they happen. And that's the biggest and best advice I can give anyone now that I've kind of made this huge life transition with an already hard transition to college, but now halfway across the country, is just see things happening as they will happen and be okay how they happen.
Yeah. And I love that idea of like, you're thinking, you're not only, visualizing into that future of, hey, this goal is happening, this is who I am, right? We think about the identity piece of it, right? If it is who I am, that I am someone who, is an athlete capable of going to a D1 school, or it's who I am that I am, someone who is making the kind of grades to where I could get a full ride scholarship into a university that I want to go to, right? And we start living into those things, right? And we start putting our goals down as, hey, this is the way that I'm going and this is the direction I'm headed, that's powerful. I'm curious for you, Juliette, as you were kind of finishing up high school and you're in this transition, were there any specific goals that you feel like you did that for, where you were visualizing them, you were seeing them happen and really living into that future that have now kind of, come to pass?
Yeah, I would say every goal I made for myself was either improved upon in its own way or achieved. So on my poster, I still have it. It hangs up in my room in North Carolina. It said that I was getting a full ride to USC. I do not go to USC, but I go to Pepperdine and I got a full ride here. Like, never in a million years that I have believed that. It's beautiful. I am 5 minutes away from the beach. That's one of the things that it didn't happen how I envisioned it, but it happened better than I wanted it to. And then smaller goals like having more time for my siblings, having more time to for myself. All those things have happened, and there's small things that may be taken for granted, but I message my sisters more often. Even though I'm not physically there with them, we keep in contact more. I text them more than once a month. And it's small, but it's a difference now. So I would definitely say those goals have been achieved.
Yeah. Well, and it's setting those, right. It's setting that intention, because I've been in the same boat. I have a younger brother, and I think, Bennett, Juliette, or you both do, Faith, as well. And Bennett and I, when he first got to school, we were doing the same thing, maybe like a call once a month. And then, coming out of the summer, the intention has been different. It's, hey, no, I want to make sure that I'm at least, once every few days, once a week, sending that text or giving him that call to make sure that we're staying connected. And I'm curious, like, what have been ways that you've been able to, of course, moving across the country from family and friends, like, what have been ways that you've been more intentional about staying connected? And what does that look like, especially, friendships, family? Tell us a little bit more about what that transition has meant for you.
Well, I hope no one puts me on blast here, but I have unmuted the family group chat. It's official, guys. It is no longer muted. Yeah, so that's definitely one way. But honestly, just being more responsive. I promise I'm not a bad person. Just, being there for the conversation, not letting myself say, oh, I'll respond 2 days from now, 3 days from now, actually sitting down and making time, calling people. Even something as small as I've started to actually Snapchat my friends from high school. And I mean, it's strange because I get to see their life. I was never a big Snapchat girl, but now I'm looking at what they're doing literally 2,000 miles away.
That LA life, man, it'll turn you into a Snapchat girl.
Really. And it's so funny. They're always like, you better come back right now. And I'm like, that's literally impossible. But yeah, just the small things that have really made that big difference is what's been really good for me with the communication.
Yeah, staying connected is hard enough when you're close to each other, let alone being what's the mileage from miles apart?
So
1,800, I think, something like that. Yeah.
So from where I am right now to where my old house is, I believe, 2,638 miles.
Whoa.
Man.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So it would take a couple plane flights, right?
Yeah.
Definitely not capable of getting there at the drop of a hat. Yeah,
but it's definitely good still, though.
Yes. Gaining some independence, some responsibility as well, learning new things. Being in a different side of the country is always interesting. I'm sure you had a culture shock whenever you just got moved in.
Yeah.
Even I grew up in Missouri and then coming to South Carolina for college, there's a little bit of a culture shock in that aspect as well. So I can relate to you there. If we're looking at the future now, Juliette, what do you hope for the rest of your college experience? What do you want to accomplish? What do you want to do? Take us into what you're excited about for the future.
Oh, love that question. when I came here, I literally had no idea what I was getting myself into. But I really lucked out because Pepperdine has a wonderful study abroad program that is covered in your tuition. And so I just submitted my application on Saturday to go to Heidelberg for a year. And, following the Dale Carnegie pattern, I am in Heidelberg. I am studying
Yes.
Heidelberg, and I'm really excited for that. There's a few different countries where they have study abroad programs, and I'm going to just see what happens. I find out on the 14th if I am accepted into Heidelberg or Switzerland or the UK, and we'll see. So I'm very excited for that. That's kind of the shorter term goal of mine. But after that, I'm really excited just to see where I go, whether that be like changing my major. I really hope not, because I just made my 4-year plan, but not the point. But whether that be like changing my major or just really diving into it, I'm just excited to see where this path takes me and kind of just explore, not only school, but Malibu too is pretty nice.
Yes. Yes. I can't wait to see what you do the next couple years and follow up with you. From the Dale Carnegie Generation.Next program, we teach you skills, on how to take risks and how to take action towards your goals. And you're living that out. You're a living example of that. And so I just wanted to give kudos to you for taking the training and really implementing it into your life. So why do you think that people then should take the Generation.Next program? What is your summary? Why would you urge people to take it?
Yeah, I mean, I feel it's so self-explanatory, but if we kind of take a step back, you can see that even the smallest direction in the program works. Something that you may feel like that might just skim over one day. It all helps. This transition for me personally has not always been easy. It's not always roses and buttercups, but the more I think about it and the more I really reflect on my experience at Dale Carnegie, I really see just how many things that I implement on the daily that I do absentmindedly and that help me, whether that be like the stress management or something as simple as names. It all plays together. And without sounding too cheesy, I think it's worth your time. It's worth your experience, because you learn so many things that even if you can't remember every, thing you learn by phrase, you're still going to take away so many wonderful things.
Yeah. Oh, thanks for sharing that experience. And it's so true, right? We're doing the 3 full days packed. There's no possible way that you're going to remember every single word of every single thing that happens, but it's those things that are those key takeaways that you're talking about, where it's literally lived experience. It's things that you're doing every single day. And when we build those habits and the repetition, there's no way that it doesn't change our relationships with others and the way that we're interacting in the world. So incredibly powerful. Well, Juliette, first of all, I want to say thank you so much for being here and for sharing your experience and insights and all that's gone into this transition for you, and just have been just so honored to have you on and have the conversation with you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course.
It's so much fun.
If people want to keep up with you, they want to continue to hear your story and kind of see where you're headed, is there a good place to stay connected with you?
I would say it's probably my Instagram. I don't know if I'm allowed to self-plug myself a little bit.
You are.
Yeah, but my Instagram handle is Juliette_Eden. And I basically just, whenever I post about it, and whether that be a meme, which I might post a little bit too often, or an infographic, I'm going to post it,
Awesome.
So.
Yeah, thank you. And we'll link that in the description. So if you're interested in following there and, you're a student, you're looking to, continue to see Juliette's journey, please connect with her there. And then also, as always, we'll put any additional links or anything in the chat. So make sure to check that out with what we've got going on and coming up. And hey, if it's your first time being here, first of all, I hope you enjoyed the conversation. We'd love for you to subscribe. I know I mentioned at the beginning, but it's the easiest way to make sure that every single time we have an episode, you know about it. We're bringing on students, we're bringing on parents, we're bringing on educators, people who know this space, know what they're doing, and are doing life well. So thank you for being here, and we're excited to see you again next week for our next episode. Have a good one.